Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast, interview your ideal clients, and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. I'm your host for today's episode, Logan Lyles, Director of Partnerships here at Sweetfish. I am joined today by Brian Manning. He is Senior Vice President and Head of Growth at PatientPing. Brian, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Logan. Thanks so much for doing this with me. It's great.
Well, we are excited to have you, Brian. Thanks so much for making some time for this interview today. I would love to have you take a second and share a little bit about your background and what the folks at PatientPing are up to these days before we jump into today's topic.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so I am a startup guy. I've worked in 5 different startups over the last 20 years, really across healthcare, e-commerce, biotechnology, where I've done sales work, customer success stuff, business development stuff, really kind of, any kind of commercial growth related activity, is really the thing that I've been focused on. And currently I'm with PatientPing out of Boston, and PatientPing is a care coordination platform that allows healthcare providers to seamlessly coordinate care. And so really the way that we do is we have 2 products. The first is Pings, what we call PatientPing. And this is for healthcare providers. They're responsible for managing a patient, such as a care manager, primary care provider. And we can notify them through our platform when one of their patients has a healthcare event, when their patients have a healthcare event. So if they go to the emergency room, we can send a ping to their primary care provider or a care manager that's concerned with that patient and allow them to collaborate with the hospital and make sure the patient's getting the right care. And then on the other side, for the provider that's actually with the patient, so in this case, an emergency department provider, when the patient shows up, we can flash some information in front of them to give that patient's visit history, care team information, some care instructions, so that they know a little bit and have a little bit more context about this patient better, and then potentially collaborate with that other healthcare provider. And the reality is, sick patients these days, unfortunately, are seeing 10, 20, 25 doctors and providers in a year. And those providers are really a team, but they don't necessarily know they're a team because they work for different companies and they have different software systems and different types of providers. So really what we're about is bringing everyone into the same platform, allowing them to share information and collaborate and provide better care and lower costs.
Yeah, that sounds like awesome objectives, especially in the healthcare space. As you mentioned, Brian, you've been involved in the healthcare space in different sectors, but had your hands in a lot of different things when it comes to growth in the various startups that you've been involved with, from business development to the marketing side. So I'm really excited to hear your take on organizing your or structuring your sales and marketing organization for success and some of the lessons that you've learned, because like we said, you've been involved in several different teams and in different functional roles, all tied to growth. So I think you have an interesting perspective to share with our audience today. I know the first thing you wanted to touch on was, making sure that you structure your marketing organization to align with sales objectives. Tell us a little bit about some of the lessons you've learned in that area through the team
Yeah. So the way that I currently think about the structure of our marketing organization is there are really four different pieces to it. So there's product marketing, which is focused really around sales enablement and the voice of the customer. Mm-hmm. There's user marketing, which is focused around getting people to use our product and communicating with them, getting them to love our product. There's content marketing, which is putting out really high quality content to position ourselves as a thought leader on some of the really important, sensitive issues around, the space that we are engaged in, as a way of, obviously driving attention and driving, a really positive brand and perception of PatientPing. And then finally, you can call it a couple of different things, but the acquisition marketing or demand gen marketing is really the way that we've kind of split up the four aspects of the team. And we have multiple people, that are in different parts of this and doing different parts of this on any given day. But those are kind of the four segments. And then we think about all of our marketing activities as rolling up to one of those segments. And the way that we measure the team really is inbounds and awareness. So we have, we get inbounds to our website, inbounds through a variety of channels for all of the activities that we participate in. And then we have some awareness metrics like website visits, Twitter followers, LinkedIn likes, those sorts of things. So those are the things that we really measure. And we try to make sure that, as you mentioned, that those things are lining up really well with the sales objectives, so that we have this sort of nice funnel from creating lots of awareness, which leads to lots of inbound, which leads to meetings, which leads to, ultimately closed sales. And there are different aspects of the marketing organization that are helping us close sales as we drive down that funnel, right? So as an example, the product marketing that we do, the sales enablement that we do with really good collateral and good ROI calculators and those kind of enablement tools aren't necessarily going to drive top of the funnel activity, but they will widen the funnel once there are deals kind of in the funnel. And so I think a little bit about the marketing organization as different pieces of our sales funnel from the top all the way down to close.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about the structure of your organization, how many folks you have in the respective areas and the size of your sales team, to give a little bit of context to specifically your organization. Brian, do you guys lean heavy based on your product and your market on the product marketing side? What's kind of the split and the ratios between sales and marketing?
Yeah. So the sales organization, so we have what we call a growth team, which is a team that I am responsible for. And it's, we have marketing, sales, 3 different sales teams, and government affairs. And the government affairs team is sort of a sales team, but they're out talking to state and federal governments about the work that we do and trying to align our objectives with their objectives. Mm-hmm. The 3 sales teams, we have a payer sales team that's focused on large health plans. We have a enterprise team that's focused on large health systems, and then we have a mid-market team that's really focused on every other provider segment. And then and then we have the marketing team. I explained that kind of structure. All in, the team's about 32 people. Probably 3 of those are marketing, 25 of those are sales. And then the remainder kind of sit across that government affairs function and partnership function.
Today's growth story is about Lilliard Insurance Agency. The biggest challenge for one of their B2B sales agents was finding contact information for businesses that fit his target profile. He was running out of time to meet his monthly sales goal, so he turned to simple internet searches. Too often, the information he found was old and unreliable. He was spending too much valuable selling time looking for email addresses that turned out to be inaccurate and unusable anyway.
The rep, Sam Hoover, heard about Sales Genie from his manager, and that's when everything changed. Sam started using Sales Genie's powerful database access to build targeted lists and get the contact information he needed to work new leads. He was able to profile his best customers to find prospects that looked just like them. He even used Sales Genie to find ways to reach them with direct mail, email, and online marketing campaigns. Sam immediately increased his monthly sales production by 200%. Can Sales Genie help you drive similar sales results? Probably. Head over to salesgenie.com/B2B to get a demo and a free customer analysis. All right, let's get back into the show. So one of the things we were talking about offline before we hit record, Brian, was, this hot topic of sales and marketing alignment. And as you get into very large organizations, it becomes even more challenging. But even with, a team your size, it's not necessarily a walk in the park to make sure that those functional roles within your growth team are completely aligned there, right? Tell us about some of the challenges and some of the things you guys are doing to drive alignment across those functions today.
Yeah, it can be really difficult, because product can be going in one direction, marketing can be thinking about these great content pieces and positioning as a thought leader, and then sales can be thinking about, I need this one pager, or I need this, this piece of collateral. So what we try to do is we try to make sure that we have a really good cycle of communication between all of these groups. And so we have a variety of means to help us do that. So obviously I'm leading the organization. So I'm regularly meeting with my counterpart in product, my counterpart in customer success, our CEO who's driving all of that. So I have a sense of kind of what's going on across the organization. And then I'm doing a weekly marketing meeting. I'm doing weekly meetings with and one-on-ones with all of my sales leadership, and making sure that everybody's kind of aligned and kind of, running in the same direction. And very, not shouldn't say very often, but, frequently we'll see misalignment, where what the sales team thinks is most important is very, very different than what the marketing team sees as most important. And I've just found that the way to do that is to just get everybody talking to each other, literally get them sitting near each other. So our marketing team, for example, is blended right into our sales team. They're surrounded by our sales team, and they're always kind of on the floor and listening and hearing what people are saying. So I think it's really about good communication, both informal in the sense of getting people sitting next to each other, but also formal in regular weekly check-ins, one-on-ones, team meetings, that sort of thing.
Love it. And one of the things that you're focused on right now, Brian, is going to that next level and looking for a marketing leader to specifically lead that functional group within your growth team. So tell us a little bit about the thought process that you're going through right now that I think could be helpful for other folks growing and scaling teams, looking for that right marketing leader to head up that department. Yeah,
so it's something that I've been running kind of myself, and I have a great, wonderful marketing team underneath me. And then I've been kind of running the sales, or a couple of these different sales organizations as well. And it's just become clear that we need kind of a dedicated leader to just really be focused on building out and growing the marketing organization to keep up and actually even lead our our sales and our revenue and our growth. And so I spent a lot of time. I spent probably 7 or 8 months kind of looking for the best person to do that. I feel like I know every marketing leader in Boston and maybe other cities as well. As I've done this analysis, and it's really interesting. And the thing I've learned, and the advice I've been given by some of the best recruiting firms is really, and the insight that I've really gained is just the different profiles of marketing leaders. Where you can have someone who's really, really strong on brand, or really, really demand gen, and sort of these experts that are just amazingly talented at their functional area. And then you have others that are more generalists, that aren't actually super good at any one of those things, but know how to recruit, know how to build an organization, know how to build metrics and process and things like that. So I think that's probably one thing I've learned, is really the difference in profiles. And then I think the other thing I've learned is that often when we talk about marketing, people often will think about it in terms of the artifacts of marketing. So the things that get produced, such as an advertisement or a piece of collateral or something like that. And I found that the best marketers don't actually prioritize that stuff, or at least when they talk about marketing, they're not actually talking about artifacts, they're talking about strategy. And that marketing is strategy. And the artifacts are just sort of the secondary outputs of the strategy. And so I think that the best people I've met with really come from that angle. Is everything starts with a strategy. How are we going to win? And then those sort of the artifacts are kind of the outputs of that. That's been sort of an insight, I think, as well.
I love it. And then I know one other thing you wanted to touch on that you've been thinking about as you've been looking at, all right, who do we need for this position? What is this position going to entail? Is thinking about not only organization need today, but this idea of looking forward for 18 months or so and seeing where are we going to be. So who do we need for this next period of time? Tell us a little bit about how that has been affecting your thinking about finding this right marketing leader for your organization.
Yeah, I think my CEO talks about this a lot, and I've seen this in books on startups. That there's a good kind of theory in the early stages. Now we're 120-ish employees, so we're not too early, but in the early stages, it's a good idea to think about leadership hires in terms of 18 months. So in other words, think about what you need to accomplish over those 18 months and hire the best person to accomplish that. And very often, the next 18 months after that, that person levels up and is actually the next best person for 36 months and 48 months, and you go on and on. But really not to overthink kind of the 5-year plan and the person you need in 5 years, because the company you are today is going to be look very different and have different objectives, in 12 or 18 months. And so I think part of the challenge then in making this hire, because there's so many good quality people out there, particularly in Boston, is not only getting someone who's great and someone who has kind of the right skill set for what we need for marketing, but also someone that's going to accomplish the objectives that we need in the next 18 months. And so then it becomes, what is this? What is success? So if 18 months from today, we hire this person, and 18 months from today, we look back and say, wow, that was an amazing hire. What does that mean? Specifically, write down, what are the accomplishments of that person? And that's been a great process in making sure that we find the right fit. And by the way, I should say we haven't found this person yet. So no, we have a lot of great candidates. So if people are listening and they're interested or they know somebody, let me know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's an appropriate plug there. We've got a lot of great marketers that listen to this show, and especially in Boston. Obviously, if you're in Boston or San Francisco, probably a great spot to be able to find good marketers these days. Not that the other spots in the country aren't well represented as well, but definitely a lot of great people in those two markets that come to mind right away. So, Brian, I really appreciate it. Best of luck finding this next right person. If it comes from a listener of this show, then we have to get some sort of a headhunting fee or kickback or something. No, I'm kidding. But to that effect, Brian, whether someone wants to reach out to you to apply for the role at PatientPing, or just wants to ask a question about growth, you've got a lot of experience in the startup scene, like we said, from sales to marketing to building an entire growth team. If anybody wants to reach out to you, for them to go about doing that?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on LinkedIn. So Brian Manning at PatientPing. I'm easy to find there. Twitter is just twitter.com/BC Manning. And then our website is PatientPing.com, PatientPing.com/careers. You'll find that job and a lot of other job listings there. We're hiring, I think, across every function right now. So there's a lot there on our careers page.
Awesome. All right, Brian, this has been a great conversation. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
Thanks, Logan. Really appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Digital marketing agencies have a tough job. You have to stay on top of the latest marketing strategies for your clients and your agency. What if there was a way you could address both at the same time? Imagine your agency putting out content with greater quality and quantity.
Envision bringing your clients a turnkey solution for one of B2B marketing's fastest growing media strategies, podcasting. You know all those clients asking for your help with their account-based marketing efforts? Picture being the first to bring them the idea of content-based networking, showing them the proven strategy for breaking into their most coveted accounts. Here's the concept. Sweetfish Media is looking to work with a limited number of innovative agencies interested in a new partnership model. We produce a podcast for your agency at no cost. You introduce the power of and Sweetfish services to your clients. Everybody wins. Learn more at sweetfishpartners.com.